What is y'all? It's your main pal and your favorite social media addict, and y'all welcome to my YouTube channel of Dr. Do on the YouTube channel Dr. Do here, alright y'all? Today's video we're going to do another military history right here, y'all. This history is about the war what is happening right now, and also the reason why this army itself doesn't look like they are a professional army, and we all thought they are the scariest army that U.S. had to face off in the future war and stuff, but ends up looking like a trash dump group, or even could look like unprofessional on the outside of the world. We're going to talk about the Russian military, the Russian army itself. Alright? Before we get started, if you guys new to my channel, please subscribe to the channel, hit notification down below, and also I recommend y'all share this video to anyone who loves military history. Alright y'all? So let's get this started. Ever since back in 2021, back in 2022, back in February 2022, the Russian government had launched a war on Ukraine back in February. When I heard about this war in February, I was like, oh man, here comes World War III. I better get ready. Better get ready to join the military, all that stuff. Everybody was scared that the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, will fall to the Russian military when, like, 1 or 2 weeks. And Putin, the leader of the Russian military, Putin, the leader of the Russian Federation, had announced that once he overthrow Vladimir, it's hard to say his name, like the Russian president, Zelensky, yeah, and put themselves in power, or even take over Ukraine itself. But however, we noticed something strange about the Russian military. Alright? Once they almost try to take Kiev, they starting to lose a lot of men, a lot of equipment, a lot of ammunition, tank and jets in the past months of the Russian military invasion of Ukraine. We were like, what is going on with the Russian military? Why are we starting seeing more casualties on the Russian side than more on the Ukrainian side? And also, when we see things on the Russian-Ukrainian war, we're seeing that their forces are starting to deteriorate rapidly. Like, we were supposed to know that Russia is supposed to be the strongest military dominance in the world besides U.S. We were wrong about the Russian military. We were so wrong when this war started. Many people were afraid of Vladimir Putin and his military back then in 2022, and fearing that Russia is going to take over all of Eastern Europe, like Poland, Estonia, Latvia, what else? Belarus, okay? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania as well, and Finland. And we were so wrong about how god-awful this Russian military had done in their special operation invasion of Ukraine. They thought they would take over Ukraine within 1 month, but however, it's been 1 year since the war started, alright? We were like, how are they so bad at fighting against another country, alright? Let me tell you the backstory of the Russian military, alright? We gotta go back to 1991. The fall of the Soviet Union had collapsed. The Russian military had started to, little by little, dismembering their old tanks, their old equipment, and make them into new and better vehicles for farming or even for businesses and stuff. But however, the Russian military, or should we say the Russian Federation, wanted to come back to becoming one of the most powerful, dominant countries that the world have never seen before, by rebuild their military, rebuild their army, rebuild their navy in the Black Sea and the Air Force. Alright? Once they started building their good military back in the 1990s, They want to try to see how good they will be when they are up against another country. Alright? In 1995 or 1996, Russia had started a invasion of Czechia. Czechia is a little country that broke away from the Soviet Union back in 1991, trying to become a country of its own. But the Russian Federation want to take that country because of Czechia having resources they need very bad for Russia. So invasion force invaded Czechia, became known as the Chechen War. They thought they would take down the little country itself because they're so tiny that their forces wouldn't surrender immediately. But however, Russian Federation back then were wrong so bad. Instead of means less resistance, they made a lot of resistance against the Chechen army itself. Many Russian forces never thought that the Chechen will beat the crap out of them so badly. Because think about it, the Chechen army are the professional army. They're like one of the most elite forces in the Soviet Union back then, alright? They have better equipment, better weapons that could take down any Russian forces, including the Russian newest tank like the T-80 or the T-90. I had a little story I made on my video. I'm going to tell you about it right now. So there was a story about 26 Russian T-80 or 90 tank rolling into a city in Czechia where they about to try to put the Chechen forces back. But however, they met with a lot of bombardment, a lot of resistance. Alright? Chechen army were using urban warfare in their war against the Russian forces. Out of the 26 Russian tanks that stormed into the city, only 6 or 5 of the Russian tanks had made it out alive. Like, really. Losing that 20 of those Russian tanks is devastating and also a disaster. I heard in the war with Czechia, I heard that 50 or 60,000 Russian forces were killed or wounded, mostly killed in battle against the Chechen army. And Russia underestimated the force of the Chechen force. And they tried again in 2000 and they completely took over Czechia in the Second Chechen War. But however, what we look at here in the Russian military, when they are trying to fight against the Ukrainian, it's happening to them all over again. So why is that we seeing? Because the Russian military had significant problem what their strategies they trying to do. Why are their military equipment look so poorly bad, and why their forces look crappy when they are in battle? Well, I'll tell you the truth. Vladimir Putin doesn't realize that all his money he used on the military is not working. He's using like 80 or 100 billion dollars on a military defense. But however, all that military equipment and their weaponry are used on old military stuff, like still using the old AK-47, old T-72, 80s and 90s tanks, including some T-60 tanks that we are seeing in battle itself. And also, we're seeing a lot of Russian tanks in Ukraine getting destroyed. Over 50% of the Russian tanks were destroyed in battle. That's a lot of Russian tanks. They're supposed to have the most tanks in the world had ever seen, but however, we're seeing them losing 50%. They're starting to lose their rank as the most tank manufactured country in the world. Speaking of their strategy, they plan on build their own column of tanks, send them to the battlefield in waves of tanks, and then force soldiers come behind them and fight the enemy while the tanks have penetrated their defense. It doesn't work this way, alright? You're exposing your military tanks in battle, which become vulnerable to military artillery and RPGs and javelins and all that. And we're seeing a lot of Russian casualty on the Russian side because they are not getting the equipment they wanted. For example, alright, I want you to see something, alright? Wait. Okay, here we are. Look at this photo of a Russian military soldier, alright? This Russian military soldier is supposed to look professional. Look like he well trained to the core. He ready to fight. This photo look what they look like before the war in Ukraine. And now we're going to show you what a Russian soldier really looked like. Comrade Brandon, join me right here, my friend. Here we are in a Russian soldier in the war with Ukraine. You see what the problem with this? We are thought that the Russian military are giving their soldier good uniform, but instead when they are getting drafted in the military, we seen drafting orders or buy some military uniforms from stores. Many of them drafted like, why are we getting these kind of stuff? Like, for example, here another example right here. The Russian military had lied about their helmet being well fenced. For example, like this, like a Soviet 1940s helmet right here. We've seen camel hunter uniform being used by Russian military, and also defended AK-47. We've seen them using like old AK weapons and battle and stuff. Does this look like a professional soldier? No, he looked like a rebel soldier fighting against the actual corrupt government and stuff. Thank you so much, Comrade Brandon. Thank you for your time for helping me. You see what I mean, okay? Now we look at their navy. We thought their navy will be hard to be taken down by the Ukrainian military, but we were wrong as well. We saw their flagship in the Russian military in the Black Sea getting destroyed, costing the lives of 300 of their crew during the early wars in Ukraine. We were like, gee, that's bad. Speaking of their Air Force is vulnerable to enemy RPG, rocket launchers, and anything that involves anti-aircraft rockets, okay? They just look terrible. Like, they have crappy airmen who doesn't know how to professionally use air jets at all. We are being lied to about the Russian military. Are they to me, they're not the second most powerful country in the world. To me, they look like the top 20 most powerful military in the world. Including the fact that Vladimir Putin is not seeing how bad his forces are. Their strategy are being terribly used badly. They losing a lot of their soldiers. They starting to lose. They lost over 5 or 6 generals when the invasion started. Wow, a lot of generals got killed. And now they decided to use a mercenary group known as the Ragnar group, who is supposed to be the professional mercenary group that are used as bodyguard or professional special operations against like rebel groups in Africa and stuff, or used as bodyguard to protect the leaders of the African government or other government of the world. Alright, when they were launched in battle, we see them getting their butts whooped by the Ukrainian forces. Alright, we know that the leader of the Ragnar group demands more ammunition, more forces he needs to take on the Ukrainian army. But Russian Federal leader Vladimir Putin refused to do so. And we see in story that the Ragnar group will lead the whole entire battle in Bakhmut. That's what happened 2 days ago when he threatened the leader of the Russian Federation. Ooh, things are doing very bad on the Russian military and Vladimir Putin. But what happened to the money they supposed to use for the military? Tell you the truth, Vladimir Putin had used like billions of dollars on crap that he doesn't need, like yachts, $100 million mention he made in the name of himself. I'm like, gee, this guy doesn't care for his people. To me, he's a terrible leader. He should have just resigned. Alright? He won't admit that his military is doing bad. Okay? And we started to see the Russian military losing a lot of men. We've seen Russian soldiers surrendering to the Ukrainian forces. I've seen a lot of Russians quitting without a fight. Their training is terrible. Speaking of the Russian military training, like I heard that when a Russian person drafted in the army, he'd get 1 month of training. All right, 1 month. That and not that long. All right, they had to use cardboard AKs in their training simulation. All right, and also they would give you like 2 or 3 days of shooting exercises, but it's not that long because it also more of their ration they eating MRIs. There's like expired food they eating in the Russian military. That is very bad. They would promise money too, but however they would lie about the payment they were going to get and stuff. Which to me it's very bad to lie to your own people. Alright, we see Russian military groups are starting to desert the army, starting to go against the Russian officers. That is embarrassing for the Russian military to have that desertion. And also, they brought in their old traditional ways of keeping their military soldier in line. They say, if you leave 1 step on the ground or come back, I would shoot you. That's what the Russian military is doing right now to their own Russian soldiers. If they move back like 2 or 3 foot away from the battle, they get shot. That's their traditional way in the Russian military. Even Soviet Union did that stuff, and the Russian Empire did that during the Saint Lazar Nicholas. Alright. So the Russian military is starting to lose more ground in the war in Ukraine. Vladimir Zelensky wanted the Russian leader Vladimir Putin to stop this war, but Vladimir Putin was like, no way, I want you to surrender to me. Alright, I don't want you to become the leader of the Ukrainian people no more. I want that land, and you do what I said. Zelensky's like, no way, man. Ukraine have fought day and night to defend this nation. We are tired of being under your rule, under your iron fists and stuff. And we're seeing Ukrainian forces gain more equipment from NATO, US, any country that would give them good stuff, including Egypt. Egypt sent Russian military equipment to Ukraine to help the Ukrainian people out. Because the Egyptian army wanted to rely on US equipment, like their Emperor tank they got in their Egyptian army. You didn't know that Egyptian military are the second country to have more Abrams tank in their country, like over 1,100 Abrams tanks in Egypt. I gotta say, thank God for Egypt for buying Abrams tanks. Good job, Egypt. And so, Russian military needs to end their war with Ukraine, or else more of their soldiers would die. Alright? You wanna know what the estimate of how many Russians die in the war? From 150 to 200,000 Russian soldiers killed in battle and wounded as well. That's so much men die in that war. Like I never seen that so much deaths in a modern army like Russia, for example. I did not see that coming. I never seen that much Russian forces getting killed. All right, they thought it would be good to use blitzkrieg, just like Adolf Hitler did in 1939 in the invasion of Poland. Plus, you've seen some similarity back in 1991 or 1992, for example, like George Bush. No, like George Bush the first, not Junior. All right, when he heard the news about Saddam Hussein invading Kuwait and took over it within 36 hours, and told Saddam Hussein to withdraw, and he refused. And then the coalition army launched their war against Iraq, taking back Kuwait, beating the Iraqi army, the Republic Guards. You see the similarity in the Saddam Hussein war with Kuwait and Russian invasion of Ukraine. But also you see the difference, you see the similarity, because Saddam forces are not as good as they thought it would be, being the fourth most powerful country in the world. Plus, you see a lot of Iraqi forces surrendering to the coalition army without a fight. You see hundreds of thousands of them surrender, and see 100,000 of them getting killed in battle against the coalition army. You see the similarity? Countries like Saddam and Vladimir Putin in Iraq and Russia may look like a powerful country, but however, in war against Western country or any other country, they look terrible. They look terrible in battle, okay? See, you need to be careful of what you see in military, alright? Not all military countries that look good at all. They may look good on the outside, but the inside, they look poorly, terrible in battle and stuff. Thank you all so much about this video. I hope you guys liked this military history history video. I hope you guys like it. Subscribe to the channel, hit notifications down below, comment on my channel. I'll see you guys next time, alright?